Good morning, everybody. I hope this video finds you in the best of health and spirits. In this video, I'm going to talk to you about automation of education. This has become an increasingly burning topic nowadays, pressing topic nowadays. It can be a game changer. Okay, I'm going to discuss whether it's going to be a flawed, ridden half solution or an epoching game changer. Okay, let us begin this video by tracing down the history of pedagogy in a fairly great level of detail. The early history of formal education remains fairly nebulous and hazy to this day. Early humans were early human civilizations, people were apparently not imparted any formal training or education at all, like most part of them, especially with the exception possibly of a few scribes. Okay, early humans may have imbibed the world to their own senses or may have taught basic life skills by their parents and peers, though informally and rather in ad hoc and unstructured fashion. Training on tool making may have been imparted from the lower Paleolithic age, and training on agricultural practices, which are essential for the survival of mankind, from the Neolithic age. The earliest formal school was probably launched in Egypt's Middle Kingdom under the direction of Kethi, treasurer to Mentuhotep II. Formal training was also imparted to a small number of scribes in Mesopotamia and Egypt, given the fact that literacy was a prerogative only of a small section of society, or the offspring of the privileged and the enfranchised themselves. Okay, for centuries there was also no formal education for women, who were generally and typically assigned far more mundane chores and given secondary status to men. This seems to have been the hallmark of all ancient civilizations, not just India. Okay, it is unfair to accuse or blame India on this score. There may have been some formal training for Indus Valley civilizations also, in the Indus Valley civilization also, but it is very difficult to attest this. In the Vedic period, Vedic knowledge with some kind of medical knowledge was taught. We also had Upanishads, which were interesting just doctor scriptures in their own right, and they were very rich in philosophical thought and tradition. And Gurukulam systems of which system education also was prevalent, but it probably was restricted to a small group of small number of people. During the Shu dynasty of ancient China, there were national schools which all riots, music, archery, chariot riding, calligraphy, mathematics. In other later civilizations such as Greece, education was mostly private and the nature of education was to be decided by the parents and the preceptors. Okay. Aristotle also tried to bridge the gap between theory and practice and introduced some such as craftsmanship, reasoning, and practice. The forerunners of modern universities were established only around the 10th century or so, or a little bit after that. In Italy, France, and England in the 11th and 12th centuries, they taught theology, arts, law, and medicine, besides a couple of other subjects. Some rudimentary science also was taught. Scientific method did not come of age then, it still probably hasn't come of age today. Okay. These were midway between monastic schools and modern universities, so they morphed into modern universities in the long term. Islamic centers of learning were also established in the 8th century. Okay, and Islam also had its own golden age. Okay, most modern systems of education around the world are developed derived from middle age schools. For example, the University of Bologna in Italy and the University of Paris, which was founded in 1888 and 1160, 1088 and 1160 respectively, had a secular and Christian basis respectively. There were other private schools, though these mostly had a religious basis. Most serious teaching was conducted in Latin, and courses were imparted in fields such as liberal arts, fine arts, etc. Meanwhile, countries like Japan, South Korea, etc., were isolated from the rest of the world and they did not impart modern education until somewhat later. Literacy levels were there in were abysmally low till the 1600s. They gradually increased in the Renaissance and Enlightenment period in the 17th and 18th centuries. The Japanese education system also merged with the Western education system after the Meiji Restoration of 1868. Similarly, universities in India were also established in on modern lines. Both systems would have its plus and minus points. It needs to be scrutinized and analyzed systematically, methodologically, in a non-ad hoc and an unbiased and an unprejudiced fashion. Okay. And education was made compulsory in most European countries in the 1800s, and teaching of subjects like science and arithmetic were made compulsory. Most states in the USA also made education mandatory in 1800s. Okay, and however, the rest of the world, particularly countries in Africa, some parts of Asia, lagged behind miserably. And in the year 1900, for example, only around 20%, measly and partly 20% of children in India ever went to school. Most 80% did not. Now, of course, we have universalized elementary and primary education. Okay, most countries in the world also have made education compulsory. So the quality of education leaves a lot to be desired. This needs to be bridged, and this chasm and rift needs to be bridged, and this gulf needs to be bridged quickly and rapidly. Okay, most that is what this video is all about. Okay, and developing countries are also making rapid strides. And since the dawn of globalization, liberalization, what we call LPG, liberalization, privatization, globalization in India, the importance of education has been understood by parents more than ever before. And there are even many, even from poor families, you will find children attending universities. However, the quality of education is not that good, and still there's no conceptual clarity with regard to education. We have attempted to bridge this gap through our earlier papers, and we need to have higher order skills, abilities, and learning dispositions. Okay, these are necessary. We need to have concepts such as analytical reasoning, complex problem solving, practical learning, and teamwork, and just not knowledge based academic skills. Of course, rote learning is limited. It can have its utility for understanding, for learning basic concepts, but rote learning alone is not useful. Okay, and I have discussed about pedagogy also in my earlier videos. Pedagogy may be defined as a method and practice of teaching, especially an academic subject. Where a learned individual, often worthy of emulation, acts as a preceptor. In India, we call it a guru, and seeks to create an impression in the mind of a naive observer or the uninitiated observer. Okay, and there is an increasing interest in education methods and techniques. This has been increasing since the past 200 years ago. However, the current state of knowledge leaves a lot to be desired, especially because it doesn't take into account the needs of developing countries. Okay, uh, the weaknesses of pedagogy were admitted by Wolf Dietrich Schmidt, Kovacic, Franco Fraboni, and Giovanni Genovese, etc. And there are different theories and models that have been applied uh, in the history of pedagogy. Learning theories may be defined as conceptual frameworks that seek to understand how students absorb, retain, process of knowledge during learning. Theory for pedagogy was proposed even by Aristotle, Socrates, Plato, etc., and later by John Locke and others. Okay, we have other theories such as behaviorism, which was developed by John Watson, B.F. Skinner, Clark L. Hull, who developed the systematic behavioral drive theory, Edward C. Tolman, who developed the purposive behaviorism and sign learning, among others, etc. Other work was also done by Albert Bandura and Vygotsky. Okay, we also had concepts such as the transfer of learning approach and connectionism, the theory of psychodynamics, etc. And major contributions were made by Thomas Jefferson, John Dewey, and others. Okay, similarly, Margaret Haley, Alexander Crummell, Mary Mac Leod Bethune, W.E.B. Du Bois, Daniel Pine, Ines Beverly, Prosser, and Booker T. Washington also made many important contributions to the field of pedagogy. Some of them were proponents for education to blacks and other minority disenfranchised groups. Examples of such people were Benjamin W. Arnett, Jean Wesley Gilbert, the first black archaeologist, and Daniel Hale Williams. He also founded the first school for black nurses. Okay, various other learning theories have also been developed by Jean-Jacques Rousseau, John Amos Comenius, and other people. John Hadrash Pestalozzi, Otto Friedrich Theodor Heinsius, Friedrich Frobel, Soren Kix, Kierkegaard, and other people also. Okay, and we have also had other concepts such as dialogue learning, which draws power from egalitarian dialogue, where validity of arguments and not association with power play a critical role. Therefore, we need an egalitarian approach to education, knowledge-based, skill-based, skill-driven. Students are also knowledgeable nowadays. We also have concepts such as educational psychology, which tries to apply the psychological principles, theories, and techniques of human behavior in educational institutions. Okay, and Under the guidance of Wilhelm von Humboldt, a new university was founded in Berlin, University of Berlin, in 1809. And this university, which was later named Humboldt University, became a model for other research universities in Europe. In the 20th century, new trends of education included Montessori schools developed by Maria Montessori based on a child-centric approach and behavior. And Waldorf education was proposed by Rudolf Steiner. Okay, pedagogy still needs to evolve, mature, and change with the times. Particularly, the needs of developing countries and marginalized groups, disempowered groups, must be taken into account and consideration. Okay, it must provide a consistent and seamless frameworks across subdisciplines, providing a cogent experience to the learner. But alas, well into the 21st century, this appears nowhere close to conclusion of fruition. Okay, pseudoscience is still rampant. People cannot distinguish between science and pseudoscience. We have flying rishis, etc. Okay, scientific method is barely understood by most people. Even PhDs don't know scientific method. Okay, and we still have been making baby steps in incorporating artificial intelligence into uh, teaching and pedagogy. For example, we have had Iris, India's first AI teacher robo. A school in Tiruvananthapuram, which is in Kerala, the capital of Kerala, has unveiled a groundbreaking innovation in education with the introduction of India's first generative artificial intelligence AI teacher named Iris. Okay, this was developed by Maker Labs EduTech, and this has been adopted in Assam and some other states also. This is a humanoid who's clad in a sari, which is a native ethnic Indian dress, interacted with Instagram. This was also developed under the Atal Tinkering Lab ATL project by Niti Aayog. Okay, this aims to revolutionize traditional teaching. Okay, it also can respond to queries, educate students from nursery to class 12 also through an Android app. Okay, it is currently proficient in three languages, but developers plan to extend its language capabilities to 20 languages. Okay, teacher. uh, uh, teaching robots will also improve gradually as technology improves. And University in Andhra Pradesh also has tried to come up with computer-based classroom and some kind of AI in uh, teaching. This include cutting-edge technology, interactive boards, projectors, audio visualized, etc. Okay, many more universities in India also jumped at the bandwagon, though it is early days yet. We do not know what trajectory this will take in the long term. Okay, we also have concept of computer-based education or computer-based learning, which was introduced in the 1970s. This concept covers the uses of computers in various aspects of education, including teaching, learning, and evaluation, program evaluation and assessment. And this also includes development of higher order thinking, higher order skills. Okay, and computer based learning may include the use of laptops, whiteboards, tablets, TVs, projectors, PPTs, audio visual aids, social media, etc. Okay, uses of computer based learning may extend into facets such as research, teaching, administration, management, evaluation, etc. Okay, and we also have concepts such as computer-assisted instruction, which is the use of computer to provide instruction directly to the learner and to drill them on particular aspects. And we also have concepts such as computer-assisted learning to impart learning to students and enhance or increase the student's state of knowledge or skill. We also have computer-based instruction, which is use of computers to present instruction material to the students. Computer-managed instruction, okay, which is uses computers to coordinate instructional activities such as testing, record keeping, and individualizing plan and reporting all facets of the management context of education. Computer assisted learning, where computers are used to assist in education. Computer based training, where computers are used to impart training. Computer managed training, where the overall management is done by computers. This can lead to automations of lessons or tutorials, enforced drills and practices, enforced intelligent CI training simulations, instructional games, use of expert systems. um, what it says is assimilation and dissemination of knowledge, computer managed instructions, problem solving, instruction games. Advantages of CBT are many. For example, computers, unlike teachers, are available at all times the learner wishes to learn. Computers are never tired and never lose their temper. The learner can learn at his or her own pace. Some learners are less scared by machines, by computers than by teachers. Learning with computers can be a personalized process also, though it does have some drawbacks and disadvantages, okay, which we will deal with subsequently. Computer learning also may be less expensive than institutional education. However, there's a caveat and a catch here. Backup teachers must always be available at all times at cost, especially when computer-based training is sought to be introduced and formalized in schools. Okay, the CAA methodology is also effective and the subject matter does not change significantly over time because is changing may require some kind of changes in course content or reprogramming. Reprogramming is not, of course, required nowadays. It's an obsolete concept, but we do require a recreation of content. So every 1 or 2 years, this may need to be done as and when the course content becomes obsolete or antiquated. Okay, this can be used for teaching the concepts of history, arithmetic, mathematics, physics, chemistry, biology, etc. And it provides some kind of uh, consistency, okay, which is not available with manual teaching. It offers some kind of reliability which is not available with manual teaching, quality which may not be always available, because the biggest drawback and the bottleneck to uh, teaching today is the absence of high quality teachers, particularly in villages, where in schools are in English medium or English schools. Quality of teachers who are able to speak in English is limited. Number of teachers who can speak in English is very low, and we also have the ability to repeat continuously, repeatability, consistency, and quality. Okay, therefore, AI in education enables educators to create an engaging learning simulation, personalized quizzes, adaptive exercises tailored to each student's learning patterns, recursive learning, personalized approaches, adaptive approaches, better quality, reduction in cost, and automation of good ways of teaching, elimination of bad ways of teaching, etc. And there may be some dangers associated with this. For example, we may compromise on creativity, may compromise on ability to think independently. Human touch may be lost. Human guidance is important. Human traits may not be replicable in automated teachers. Morals, ethics, values may not be taught easily. May compromise quality in some cases. Languages may not be developed. Okay, and the lexical development of languages is also required at all costs. Okay, so personalized approach to teaching languages also may be lost in this case. We have discussed this previously. There is also an largely a large divide or a gap between the global north and the global south. The causes for differentials need to be understood. We need to have customization, we need to have tweaking, we need to have alteration, modification, cultural adaptation. We need to identify poor performance of the dull students. We need to reward the fast learners accordingly, while at the same time keeping them in the mainstream. We need to have pilot studies also in place. And again, dogma needs to be avoided at all cost. Kanchailaya, for example, is a champion of English, whereas Vadiyala Ranjit and others have championed other Indian languages. Both options should be available. Mother tongue education could be more attractive without any compulsion or influence, etc. Of course, there are many more other advantages of computer-based automation of education. For example, it can help us overcome linguistic barriers. It can help us overcome poor quality of teaching. Can benefit developing countries in relative terms, and it can bridge the gap between developed countries and developing countries. It can help developing countries catch up with the more developed ones. Can overcome racism because some people in rich countries do not want poor countries to develop and catch up with them. This can be the next big thing in education if tapped and utilized properly. It can eliminate ideology because teachers are always ideology free, and teachers may impart ideology subconsciously to their students. Okay, and we also have developed concepts such as theory of linguistic expectation, theory of non-linguistic expectation, linguistic speed spot, economic sweet spot, language dynamics, etc. Okay, we read all our papers in great level of detail. We also need to have infrastructure in place. That is the most important thing. Without infrastructure, there is no point putting all this garbled and nonsense into place. Okay, this may only be a long-term solution. Different types of infrastructures need to be in place. For example, teachers must be ready to act as backups. They must have a knowledge. Students must be ready to access this point of knowledge, and we also need to have quality infrastructure in schools. Okay, reliability of power is the most important. Of late, solar power is picking up rapidly. We also can use other renewable power sources. Solar technology is improving rapidly because we now have perovskites in place. Cadmium telluride based solar power is also taking off in a big way. PM Suryagar also is taking off in a big way, though the implementation is a bit tardy. All students must have necessarily reliable power supply. This is a necessary and an essential concomitant. Okay, if you study the history of power outages in India, power outages are very commonplace in India, and this may throw the entire learning and teaching schedule haywire. Okay. Also, please bear in mind that ethnography and other concepts must be borne in mind always. Ethnography is a qualitative research method that involves studying people in their natural environments to study their culture, social dynamics, and worldviews. Have written about ethnography at a great level of depth. We also have concepts such as linguistic ethnography. Okay, this is a growing body of research which combines linguistic and ethnographic approaches to understand how social and communicative processes operate in a diverse range of settings and contexts. Okay, we also have concepts such as social linguistic ethnography, which focuses on how language use is shaped by individual and societal forces. We also need to have ethnography for pedagogy, learning patterns, learning outcomes, field work, data driven approach. All these things need to be understood at a great level of depth. These must naturally recursively provide feedback into the learning and teaching process. Okay, we also don't emphasize technology for technology's sake. There must be no technology for technology's sake. This is unfortunately a trap, pitfall we all fall into. There must be a human touch at all times. We must have a pragmatic and practical approach. Outcome based approaches will be borne in mind. Backup mechanism is required. Teachers must still be qualified and trained. In case of a breakdown, teachers must up the ante and jump into the bandwagon and teach. Okay, the quality of teaching must remain intact or improve. Good teachers are still a must. There is no substitute for good teachers. Teachers can always serve as we always serve as mentors and guides. They will provide spiritual, moral, ethical, and practical guidance. Preceptors and gurus are important. Therefore, we need output-based metrics, quality-based metrics, and the quality of education must be maintained. We must keep learning recursively from mistakes. Course corrections are required. Theories of pedagogical content must also be borne in mind. I have written about this extensively in depth in depth. There must be no rote learning except where it's absolutely required. Things like high quality teaching, contemporary approaches teaching must be maintained. We must have scientific method, science and pseudoscience, okay, time and space encapsulation, etc. In short, this is a brilliant solution, but the time was come to for it. Developing countries like India must use it to pull themselves up by their bootstraps and close gaps with the developed world. And I would strongly urge developing countries also to take the lead in research and development here because it can help developing countries greatly. Much more debate and discussion are required. We still have a long way to go before technology and infrastructure device. This, of course, gives us the time to debate and discuss. And that is for this very reason that the time to debate is right now. Okay, we must take into account and consideration the benefits of this approach and start working on this immediately. Thank you very much once again. Bye.